The frost had already begun to claim the porch. Claire Stratton saw them through the windshield before her car even stopped. Two figures huddled against the front door of her own home, breath clouding in the December air. Her daughter, her mother, outside. The temperature had dropped to 18 degrees, and they were outside. Her foot slammed the brake. The seatbelt cut across her chest as the vehicle lurched to a stop in the driveway. Through the frosted glass of her living room window, she could see light, warmth, movement. Someone was inside her house. Multiple someones. But her 5-year-old daughter Emma and her 72-year-old mother were locked out in the cold. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel. Or if this is your first time here, welcome to a story that's going to shake you to your core. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from. I love connecting with you all from around the world. And listen, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button because we've got stories here that will make you feel everything. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next in Claire's story. Now, let's get back into it. Claire's hands trembled as she threw the car into park, her designer handbag tumbling to the passenger floor. The conference in Boston was supposed to run until Friday. She'd wrapped up her presentation early, declined the networking dinner, and driven 4 hours through threatening snow because she missed them. Missed Emma's bedtime giggles. Missed her mother's terrible coffee and wonderful advice. She'd imagined their surprised faces when she walked through the door Wednesday night instead of Friday afternoon. She had not imagined this. Emma saw the car first. Even from 15 feet away, Claire could see her daughter's lips were tinged blue beneath the porch light. The little girl wore her pink pajamas, the ones with unicorns, and a coat that hung open because Emma hadn't learned to zip it herself yet. She never had to. Someone always helped her. Someone should have been helping her now. Mama. Emma's cries split the frozen air. Claire was out of the car before she consciously decided to move, her heels skidding on the icy driveway. Her mother, Dorothy, still fierce even at 72, had wrapped herself around Emma, trying to shield the child with her own thin cardigan and sheer will. Dorothy's face was pale, her lips pressed into a thin line that Claire recognized. That was her mother's holding back fury expression. Baby, oh my God, baby. Claire's voice cracked as she reached them, her hands immediately going to Emma's frozen cheeks. The little girl's skin was ice beneath her palms. How long have you been out here? We knocked, Claire Bear, Dorothy said, her voice steady despite the cold, despite the rage Claire could see banked in her mother's eyes. We knocked and knocked. Grandma said they can hear us, Emma whispered, and the adult awareness in her 5-year-old voice made Claire's stomach drop. But they won't open the door. They. Through the window, a shadow moved. Claire's head snapped up. Someone had just walked past the curtains. Someone inside her home, warm and comfortable, while her child froze on the porch. Claire's hand went to her pocket, fingers closing around her keys. But when she looked at the door, really looked, her blood turned colder than the winter air. The deadbolt. The one that could only be locked from the inside. Someone had thrown it. Who? Claire's question died in her throat because she already knew. The expensive SUV parked on the street, the one she'd been too panicked to register when she pulled up. She recognized it now. The vanity plate. Winston 1. Her mother-in-law was inside her house. And Diane Winston had locked out Claire's mother and daughter in 18-degree weather. How long? Claire asked again, her voice dropping to something dangerous and unfamiliar even to her own ears. Dorothy's pause told her everything. An hour. Maybe more. An hour. Claire turned back to the door, and this time when she pounded on it, the sound was thunder. Open this door. Movement inside. Footsteps approaching. The curtain twitched. And then nothing. The footsteps retreated. They had seen her. And they still didn't open the door. Emma started to cry, small shaking sobs that vibrated against Claire's leg where the child had wrapped herself around her mother. I asked nicely, Mama. I said please. Grandma Dorothy said please too. Something inside Claire's chest cracked open, something that had been held together by assumptions about family, about decency, about the basic humanity of the people her husband came from. Something that, once broken, she suspected would never quite fit back together the same way. Go to my car, Claire said softly to her mother, fishing her keys back out with shaking hands. Heat's still running. Get Emma warm.
Now.
Claire. Now, Mom. Dorothy knew that tone. She'd raised Claire, after all. She scooped Emma up, grunting with the effort because 72 was 72, but love made you strong, and carried the little girl toward the idling car. Claire waited until she heard the car door close. Then she pulled out her phone. Her husband's number was on speed dial. 2 rings. 3. Claire? Honey, I thought you weren't coming home until… Jackson. His name came out like a blade. Your mother locked our daughter outside in the freezing cold. Silence on the other end. Not the shocked kind. The calculating kind. Now, Claire, I'm sure there's an explanation. An hour, Jackson. Emma was out there for an hour. In her pajamas. My mother wouldn't. Your mother is in our house right now, and I'm locked out of my own home. Our daughter almost got frostbite. So you need to tell me, right now, what the hell is going on. Another pause. Longer this time. When Jackson spoke again, his voice had changed. Cooler. More distant. We need to talk about some things, Claire. My family thinks, well, we think it might be time for some changes. Mom was just trying to help. Changes. The word hung in the frozen air like a threat. What kind of changes? But even as Claire asked, pieces were clicking together. Jackson's distance the past few months. The way he'd encouraged her to take this conference. The way he'd insisted she stay through Friday for networking opportunities. He hadn't expected her home for 2 more days. 2 more days of what? Open the door, Jackson. I know you're in there. I'm actually at Dave's place, watching the game. But Claire, maybe you should get a hotel tonight. Let everyone cool down. We can talk tomorrow. Open the goddamn door, or I'm calling the police.
She heard him sigh.
Don't be dramatic. Mom's just trying to establish some boundaries. Your mother has been difficult. And Emma needs more structure, more discipline. We can discuss this like adults. Claire hung up. Her hands didn't shake anymore. They were steady as stone as she scrolled through her contacts to her lawyer friend, Michelle. As she took photos of her mother and daughter huddled in the car, of the locked door, of the Winston SUV parked like a declaration of occupation. But before she could dial, the door opened. Diane Winston stood in the threshold, perfectly coiffed even at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. She wore slacks and a cashmere sweater, Claire's favorite cashmere sweater, actually, the cream one that had been an anniversary gift from Jackson. Behind Diane, Claire could see Jackson's sister, Patricia, and his aunt, Constance. They'd made themselves comfortable. There was wine breathing on the counter, cheese and crackers arranged on Claire's wedding china. They'd been having a party, while a 5-year-old froze outside. Claire. Diane's smile was thin and sharp. You're home early. How unfortunate. Get out of my house. Actually, darling, we need to discuss whose house this really is. You see, Jackson called us. He's very concerned about Emma's welfare, about the influence of certain people. Diane's gaze flicked toward the car, where Dorothy waited. We're family. We're just trying to help. By locking out my mother and daughter in 18-degree weather? Oh, don't be so dramatic. They could have simply gone elsewhere. Your mother has been filling Emma's head with nonsense, and we decided enough was enough. This is an intervention, Claire. For the good of the family. Something crystallized in that moment. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. While Claire had been giving her presentation in Boston, while she'd been working to support the family Jackson claimed to want, they'd been plotting this. But they'd underestimated one thing. They'd underestimated what a mother would do when someone threatened her child. Claire pulled out her phone again, and this time, she did dial. 911, what's your emergency? Diane's smile finally cracked. Yes, I need police at 447 Maple Street. There are intruders in my home who locked my 5-year-old daughter outside in freezing temperatures. What did they think they could take from her? And why did Jackson sound like he already knew this was happening? Drop a comment below with your first reaction. I want to hear what you're thinking right now. The next 17 minutes moved like a fever dream. Diane's face cycled through shock, fury, and something that looked almost like fear. Patricia started gathering their things. Constance tried reason. Claire, let's not involve the authorities, we're family, but Claire's gaze never wavered from her mother-in-law. You locked out my child, Claire repeated, her voice eerily calm now. In December. In New England. In 18-degree weather. That's not family. I don't know what that is, but it's not family. When the police cruiser pulled up, lights painting the snow-covered lawn in red and blue, Diane finally moved from the doorway. But she leaned in close as she passed, close enough that only Claire could hear. This isn't over. Jackson has rights. And you're going to learn that blood is thicker than whatever unfortunate mistake brought you into this family. Then she was gone, swept down the driveway in a wave of expensive perfume and barely concealed threats, Patricia and Constance trailing behind like ladies-in-waiting. The officer, young, kind-eyed, with a name tag that read Morrison, took Claire's statement on the porch, took photos of Emma in the car, of the locks, of everything. When Dorothy carried Emma inside at last, wrapped in Claire's emergency blanket from the trunk, the little girl was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Mama, why did Grandma Diane lock us out? And Claire had no answer. None that made sense. None that wouldn't shatter something innocent in her daughter's understanding of the world. So instead, she held Emma close, feeling the cold still radiating from her small body, and made a promise to herself. Whatever was coming, whatever Jackson and his family had planned, they had made their first and last mistake. They had touched her daughter. And Claire was going to make absolutely certain they regretted it. The hot chocolate was too hot, but Emma drank it anyway, desperate for warmth that went deeper than skin. Claire sat on the bathroom floor, her back against the tub, watching her daughter in a nest of towels and blankets. Dorothy had drawn the bath, not too hot. She'd warned, you never shock a cold system. And now Emma floated in lavender-scented steam, her cheeks finally returning to pink. Tell me again, Claire said softly, everything that happened before I got home. Emma's lower lip trembled. She was 5, but she was sharp. Sharper than Jackson gave her credit for. Sharper than his family had anticipated. Grandma Dorothy made mac and cheese. The good kind, with 3 cheeses like you make. Emma's fingers traced patterns in the bubbles. Then the doorbell rang. Dorothy appeared in the doorway with more towels, her face carved from stone. I thought it was odd. Jackson had said he'd be out late. But there was Diane with her sister and daughter, all smiles, saying Jackson had invited them to stay a few days. In my house. Without asking me. Claire's jaw tightened. I told them you weren't home, that maybe they should call first. Diane just walked past me. Like I wasn't there. Like I was staff. Dorothy's hands twisted the towel. Patricia went straight upstairs. I heard drawers opening in your bedroom. Claire's stomach dropped. My bedroom? I followed her up. Found her going through your jewelry box, your closet. When I confronted her, she said, Dorothy's voice caught. She said they were taking inventory of Winston family property. Winston family property. And then, Constance distracted Emma with cookies in the kitchen while Diane pulled me aside. Told me that Jackson had concerns. About my influence on Emma. About how I was teaching her to be. Dorothy's voice dripped with acid. Difficult. Apparently, a Winston woman should be more compliant, more traditional, less mouthy. Claire almost laughed. Emma was 5 and already asked why to everything, challenged every rule. demanded explanations. She got that from Claire. From Dorothy. From 3 generations of women who refused to just nod and smile. She gave me an ultimatum, Dorothy continued. Leave voluntarily, or they'd make Jackson get a restraining order. Said they had a lawyer ready. That grandparents have no rights, but fathers do. So you left. Claire tried to keep judgment from her voice. I took Emma with me. Told them we were going to the store. Dorothy's eyes flashed. But when we came back 20 minutes later, we'd just gone around the block. Emma forgot her stuffed rabbit. The locks were changed. Not just locked.
Changed.
They must have had a locksmith on standby. Claire processed this. The level of planning. The premeditation. How long were you out there before I arrived? 90 minutes, Dorothy whispered. I called Jackson 17 times. He declined every call. I called you, but I was in the dead zone on Route 2. No signal for 40 miles. Claire pulled Emma from the bath, wrapped her in warmth. Baby, did they say anything to you? Grandma Diane or Aunt Patricia? Emma nodded against Claire's shoulder. Aunt Patricia said, I need to learn manners. That Grandma Dorothy teaches me bad things. But Mama, Grandma Dorothy teaches me good things. She teaches me to read and do math and that I'm smart and strong. You're smart and strong. Aunt Patricia said Winston girls should be pretty and quiet. Emma pulled back, her dark eyes, Jackson's eyes, unfortunately confused. But you're pretty and smart. You talk at those big meetings and people listen. Why does Aunt Patricia think I can't be both? Because Patricia Winston had been raised in a gilded cage and couldn't imagine any other life. Because Diane had built an empire of control by making herself indispensable to weak men. Because the Winston family had money and legacy and a desperate need to ensure their son's daughter didn't turn out like his wife. Independent, educated, unwilling to be managed. But Claire couldn't say that to a 5-year-old. Some people are scared of strong girls, Claire said instead. But we don't shrink ourselves to make others comfortable. Right? Right. Emma's voice was small but firm. Dorothy caught Claire's eye over Emma's head. The look they exchanged carried years of understanding. Dorothy had raised Claire alone after Claire's father left when she was 3. Had worked 2 jobs to put Claire through college. Had been there when Jackson swept Claire off her feet with charm and promises, had held her tongue even when she had concerns about his family's coldness. Had earned the right to be in her granddaughter's life. This is about control, Dorothy said quietly. Jackson never liked that you out-earn him. That you're the one with the corporate position while he finds himself with failed business ventures. It was true. Jackson was on startup number 4, each funded by his family, each going nowhere. Meanwhile, Claire had climbed to VP of marketing at a Fortune 500 company. The money was mostly hers. The house, she'd checked the deed obsessively when they bought it, was in both names, but her salary had covered the down payment. Her phone buzzed. Jackson. Again. She let it ring. Mama, is Daddy mad at us? Emma's question cracked something in Claire's chest.
No, baby.
Daddy's just confused right now. But even as she said it, Claire wondered. The man she'd married 6 years ago had been different. Attentive. Supportive of her career. Or had she just been too in love to see the small ways he diminished her? The jokes about her working late. The comments about Emma needing her mother more than her career needed her. The way he always deferred to his mother, even when Diane was clearly wrong. The bath water drained with a gurgle that sounded like a question. Claire carried Emma to her bedroom, her pink bedroom that Patricia had probably sneered at, too feminine, too childish, whatever, and tucked her into bed with Mr. Hopscotch, the rabbit they'd risked hypothermia to retrieve. We're safe now, Claire whispered. I promise. But as she said it, her phone lit up with a text. Not from Jackson this time. From a number she didn't recognize. You humiliated the family tonight. There will be consequences. Jackson is filing for full custody. You'll lose everything. The Winstons don't lose. Claire's hands shook as she showed Dorothy the message in the hallway. Let them try, Dorothy said fiercely. You're her mother. You have rights. But Claire had seen the Winston lawyers in action during Jackson's business disputes. They were vicious, well-funded, connected to judges and politicians across the state. And she had just called the police on Jackson's mother. I need to call Michelle, Claire said. Michelle Chun, her best friend since college, now a family lawyer in Boston. I need to understand what I'm up against. Claire. Dorothy gripped her daughter's shoulders. What are you up against? Really? Claire looked at her childhood bedroom at the end of the hall, the one she'd converted to a home office. At Emma's door, with its hand-painted name sign. At the life she'd built in this house, in this marriage, in this family she'd tried so hard to blend into. A family that thinks they own people, Claire said slowly. A husband who called his mother instead of standing up for his daughter. And a system that might actually give them what they want. Then we fight. Mom, you don't understand. The Winstons have money. Real money. Lawyers on retainer. Jackson's uncle is a family court judge 2 counties over. And you have something they'll never have. Dorothy's voice was steel wrapped in silk. You have the truth. You have a daughter who loves you. And you have me. Claire wanted to believe that would be enough. But as she walked to her bedroom and saw the evidence of Patricia's invasion, drawers slightly open, hangers disarranged, her jewelry box moved 3 inches to the left, she knew this wasn't about truth or love. This was about power. And the Winstons had just declared war. What would you do in Claire's position? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button because this story is about to get intense. Michelle Chun arrived at 6:47 a.m., carrying coffee and a leather briefcase that meant business. She'd driven from Boston through pre-dawn darkness after Claire's midnight call, because that's what real friends did. That's what sisters by choice did. Show me everything, Michelle said, setting up at Claire's dining room table like a war room. Claire laid it out. The photos. The police report. The text messages from the unknown number. Jackson's voicemails, each one progressively more aggressive, more entitled, more his mother's son than the man she'd married. Michelle's jaw tightened as she reviewed the evidence. They locked out a 5-year-old in 18-degree weather. That's child endangerment. Criminal negligence at minimum. Will that matter? Claire, you called the police. You documented everything. Michelle looked up, her dark eyes sharp. You did exactly right. But we need to be prepared. If Jackson's serious about custody, this gets ugly fast. How ugly? Before Michelle could answer, Claire's phone erupted with notifications. One after another. Her Facebook, her Instagram, her LinkedIn, all lighting up simultaneously. Her hands went numb as she opened Facebook. Someone had posted photos. Parental neglect, Claire repeated flatly. I work to support this family, Jackson. You know, since your 3rd startup folded and you've been consulting for 4 months. My family has resources. Emma doesn't need your money. She needs a stable home. A present mother. Not someone constantly chasing the next promotion while strangers raise her child. Strangers? My mother watches Emma 2 afternoons a week. The same mother your family left in the freezing cold. Your mother has been poisoning Emma against the Winston family, teaching her to be disrespectful, mouthy, teaching her to think for herself. Claire's voice cracked, teaching her that women can be strong and smart and that she doesn't have to shrink herself to please anyone. See, this is exactly the problem. You're so focused on your feminist agenda that you can't see what Emma really needs. Stability.
Tradition.
A mother who prioritizes her family over her career. Michelle was writing furiously. Record everything. He's giving U.S. gold. Where are you, Jackson? Claire asked suddenly.
Right now.
Where are you? A pause. That's not relevant. Are you at your mother's house? Another pause. Longer. I'm staying with family while we figure out our next steps. I think it's best if we separate for a while. Give everyone space too. You left. You left your daughter, walked away from your marriage, and you're trying to make me the villain. I left because you created a hostile environment. You called the police on my mother, Claire. You humiliated the entire Winston family over a simple misunderstanding. A simple. Claire couldn't breathe. Your mother locked out our 5-year-old daughter in 18-degree weather for 90 minutes. That's not a misunderstanding. That's criminal. My lawyer says we have grounds for an emergency custody order based on your erratic behavior and poor judgment. The restraining order you're seeking against my mother only proves you're unstable. I never filed for a restraining order.
You will.
My lawyer says women like you always do. So, we're getting ahead of it. By Monday, I'll have temporary custody and you'll have supervised visitation. If you cooperate, we can make this civil. If you fight. His voice dropped. The Winstons have very good lawyers, Claire. And judges who understand that children need their fathers. The line went dead. Claire stared at the phone like it had grown teeth. Did he just? Dorothy's voice shook. Did he just threaten to take Emma? Michelle was already typing on her laptop. He can threaten all he wants. But I need you to listen to me carefully, Claire. Both of you. She looked up, her expression fierce. They're going to come at you with everything. They'll dig through your past, twist every decision, make you look like the worst mother in America. Your work trips, your career, your success. All of it becomes evidence against you. That's insane. I'm a good mother. I love Emma more than. I know. But family court isn't always about truth. It's about narrative. And right now, they're building one where you're the career-obsessed, absent mother, and Jackson is the devoted father trying to save his daughter from her grandmother's toxic influence. So, what do? Michelle's smile was sharp as a blade. We build our own narrative. Better, stronger, backed by facts. But first, she pulled out her phone. We're filing an emergency motion for exclusive use of the marital home and temporary custody.
Today. Right now.
Before Jackson's lawyers can move. Can we do that? You called the police on intruders who endangered your child. Jackson abandoned the marital home. He just admitted on a recorded phone call that he's staying with family and planning to take Emma. Michelle's fingers flew across her phone screen. We're not playing defense anymore, Claire. We're going on offense. Dorothy squeezed Claire's shoulder. What do you need us to do? Get me every piece of evidence you have. Texts, emails, bank statements showing Claire's financial contributions. Photos of Emma's life, her room, her toys, her routine. Anything showing Claire as the primary caregiver. Jackson's been hands-off for months, Claire said slowly, pieces clicking together. He stopped doing bedtime. Stopped helping with homework. Last month when Emma had the flu, he stayed at his mother's for 3 days because he couldn't afford to get sick. Perfect. Document it. All of it. Michelle looked at Claire with something like pride. They thought you'd roll over. They thought you'd be intimidated by their money and their lawyers and their threats. Should I be? Terrified, Michelle said honestly. But you're not alone. And Claire? They made one critical mistake. What's that? They came after your daughter. And there's nothing more dangerous than a mother protecting her child. A knock at the door made all 3 women freeze. Through the window, Claire could see an unfamiliar car. A man in a suit, carrying papers. Don't answer it, Michelle said quietly. But it was too late. The man had seen them through the window. He approached, slid papers under the door, and walked away without a word. Claire picked up the envelope with shaking hands. Emergency motion for temporary custody, Jackson Winston v. Claire Winston. They'd beaten her to it. By hours, maybe minutes. The hearing was scheduled for Monday morning. 3 days away. 3 days to prepare for the fight of her life. They moved fast. Drop a comment if you're Team Claire, and buckle up because what happens next is going to blow your mind. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The Winston family lawyer was named Theodore Carmichael, and his letterhead alone probably cost more than Claire's monthly mortgage. Michelle spread his motion across the dining room table like a coroner examining a body. Pattern of neglect, Michelle read aloud, her voice dripping with contempt. Prioritization of career over child welfare. Exposure of minor child to unstable maternal grandmother with history of... She looked up sharply. Dorothy, do you have a criminal record? A parking ticket in 1987. They're citing a protective order from 2003. Dorothy went still. I didn't. My ex-boyfriend filed that after I broke up with him.
It was dismissed.
The judge called it frivolous. Doesn't matter. It's in the system. They found it. Michelle kept reading, her expression darkening. Child found outside in freezing temperatures under maternal grandmother's supervision, suggesting gross negligence and potential cognitive decline due to advanced age. I'm 72, not senile. Dorothy's voice cracked. They're painting you as too old to care for Emma safely. And they're using the lockout, the thing they did, as evidence against you. Michelle slammed the papers down. This is brilliant. Evil, but brilliant. They create a crisis, then use it to prove you're both unfit. Claire couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in. What else? They have affidavits. From Jackson's mother, his sister, his aunt. All swearing that you're emotionally distant, that Emma cries when you leave for work trips, that your mother has made disparaging comments about the Winston family in front of the child. I never, Dorothy started. Emma told me last week that you said Grandma Diane has a stick up her. Claire stopped. Oh God. Children repeat everything. Michelle rubbed her temples. What else has Emma heard? From either of you? The silence was damning. They have photographs, Michelle continued, from Emma's school pickup, showing that Dorothy picks her up 4 days a week while you're at work. They're framing it as parental absence. I work until 5. Dorothy gets her at 3 because kindergarten ends early. It's called childcare, not abandonment. I know that. You know that. But they're building a case that Jackson is more available, more present. Look, Michelle showed them page 6. He's been volunteering at Emma's school library for 6 weeks. Claire's blood ran cold. Since when does Jackson volunteer anywhere? Since his lawyers told him to build a custody case. Michelle's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and swore softly. Claire, are you aware Jackson has a new Instagram account? The photos made Claire physically ill. Jackson at the park with Emma, pushing her on swings, dated and time-stamped, 3 posts a week for the past month. Jackson reading bedtime stories. Jackson making pancakes. Jackson the devoted father, documenting every moment. This is fake, Claire whispered. Half of these I was out of town. He didn't do any of this. But can you prove that? Because he has photos that say otherwise. Dorothy leaned closer. That pancake photo. That's my kitchen. My stove. I made those pancakes. He's been staging this for weeks, Michelle said. Creating a digital paper trail showing him as the primary parent while you were the absent career woman. Claire's work phone rang again. Richard, her boss. 3rd time today. Answer it, Michelle said. But be careful. Claire, we have a problem. Richard didn't waste time on pleasantries. HR received an email this morning from a Diane Winston claiming you've been drinking at work events and making inappropriate advances toward male colleagues. That's a lie. Complete fabrication. I believe you. But there are photos attached. You at the Miami conference bar. The caption suggests impropriety. I was networking with my entire team present. You can verify. I will. But Claire, I need you to take a few days. Personal leave. Let HR investigate quietly. This kind of allegation, even baseless, requires protocol. They were isolating her, cutting off her support systems, her income, her credibility. Richard, I need this job. My daughter. It's paid leave. Just until we clear this up. You understand. She understood perfectly. The Winstons were destroying her life piece by piece. When she hung up, Michelle was already typing furiously. We're filing our own motion.
Today.
Including the police report from Wednesday night, statements from Officer Morrison, medical records showing Emma's exposure to cold. Did you take her to the doctor? Not yet. She seemed fine after she warmed up. Take her today.
Now.
Get everything documented. Any sign of frostbite, even mild. Any psychological trauma from being locked out. Michelle looked up. I know this feels exploitative, but if we don't document the harm they caused, they win. Dorothy was already grabbing her coat. I'll take Emma to Dr. Chen's office. He's known her since birth. Wait. Claire caught her mother's arm. They're watching. If you take Emma anywhere, they'll twist it. Say we're coaching her, fabricating evidence.
So, what do we do?
Nothing. Michelle's phone buzzed with an incoming email. Her face went pale as she read. They're not waiting for Monday. Jackson's lawyer just filed an emergency request for immediate temporary custody. Hearing today at 2 p.m. Claire checked her watch.
10:47 morgens.
Less than 4 hours. Can they do that? They're claiming Emma is in immediate danger. That the police report proves unstable household conditions. Michelle was already packing her briefcase.
Get dressed.
Professional but maternal. Conservative. We need to look like we have our lives together even if we're falling apart. The courthouse smelled like old wood and broken families. Claire sat on a hard bench outside Family Courtroom C, her hands twisted in her lap. Michelle paced like a caged tiger, reviewing notes, making calls, preparing for war. Jackson arrived at 1:52 p.m. with an entourage. Theodore Carmichael, silver-haired and shark-eyed. Diane Winston, dressed like she was attending a gallery opening. Patricia, filming everything on her phone until a bailiff made her stop. And Jackson, her husband of 6 years, the father of her child, looking at her like she was a stranger, like she was the enemy. Claire. He had the audacity to approach her. This doesn't have to be ugly. Just agree to joint custody with me as primary. Reasonable visitation for you. We can end this today. You locked our daughter outside in the freezing cold. I was at Dave's. My mother made a mistake. A mistake you've turned into a custody weapon. How long have you been planning this, Jackson? How long have you been building your fake Instagram dad persona while I actually raised our daughter? Something flickered in his eyes.
Guilt, maybe.
But it died quickly. The judge will see I'm the stable parent. I have family support, financial backing, time to dedicate to Emma's needs. You have a demanding career and an aging mother who endangered our child. Your mother endangered our child. That's not what my family will testify to. Jackson's voice dropped. I didn't want this. But you forced my hand. If you'd just been more flexible, more willing to prioritize family over work, this could have been avoided. Michelle stepped between them. Mr. Winston, you're not to speak to my client without counsel present. Jackson smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. See you in there, Claire. May the best parent win. As he walked away, Diane caught Claire's gaze. The older woman's expression was triumphant, satisfied. This was what she'd wanted all along. Her son back under her control, her granddaughter raised the Winston way, and Claire erased like a mistake. Michelle, Claire whispered, what are our chances? Michelle's pause said everything. We have truth on our side, but they have money, preparation, and a judge who might be sympathetic to keeping children in wealthy, stable, two-parent households. She squeezed Claire's hand. I won't lie to you. This could go either way. The courtroom door opened. A bailiff called their case.
Winston.
Emergency custody hearing. Claire stood on shaking legs and walked toward her future. Toward a fight she couldn't afford to lose. The courtroom doors are closing. What do you think the judge will decide? Comment below and please subscribe because what is about to happen is going to shatter everything you think you know about this case. Judge Patricia Corleone was 60-something, gray-haired, and terrifyingly unreadable. She listened to Theodore Carmichael's opening statement with the expression of someone watching paint dry, bored, but obligated to pay attention. Your Honor, this is a case of a mother who has systematically prioritized her career ambitions over the well-being of her 5-year-old daughter. On the evening of December 14th, the child was found outside in 18-degree weather under the supervision of her 72-year-old grandmother, who has a documented history of instability. Claire's fingernails bit into her palms. Michelle had warned her, "Don't react. Don't give them anything to use against you.
Stay calm.
Look stable." But watching Jackson sit there, nodding along to lies, was killing her. Mr. Winston has demonstrated consistent, devoted parenting, Carmichael continued, pulling up Jackson's Instagram on a tablet for the judge. Multiple documented interactions. Volunteerism at the child's school. A stable home environment with extended family support. Judge Corleone scrolled through the photos with an expression that might have been skepticism, or might have been nothing at all. Then it was Michelle's turn. Your Honor, on December 14th, members of the Winston family entered my client's home without permission, changed the locks, and deliberately locked a 5-year-old child outside in freezing temperatures. This is documented by police report, witness testimony, and photographic evidence. Mr. Winston was called 17 times by the child's grandmother and ignored every call. That is not devotion. That is abandonment. Michelle presented the police report, Officer Morrison's statement, the photos of Emma huddled against the door. Judge Corleone's expression shifted.
Slightly.
Dangerously. Mr. Carmichael, your client's mother locked the child out of the home? A misunderstanding, Your Honor. Mrs. Diane Winston believed the grandmother had taken the child without permission. She was protecting. For 90 minutes? In 18-degree weather? Without calling police or the child's parents. Carmichael hesitated. Just for a second. But Claire saw it. Michelle saw it. The judge definitely saw it. Mrs. Winston has apologized profusely for the confusion. I don't see an apology in this file. I see a police report documenting child endangerment. Judge Corleone's voice was ice. And I see a father who didn't answer 17 phone calls while his child was locked outside his own home. Where were you, Mr. Winston? Jackson stood, smoothing his tie. Your Honor, I was at a friend's house. I didn't realize. You didn't realize your mother and sister had entered your home, changed your locks, and locked out your wife's family? We had discussed some concerns about the grandmother's influence. My mother was trying to help establish boundaries. By changing locks and endangering a child? Carmichael jumped in. Your Honor, the real issue is the pattern of neglect. Mrs. Winston travels extensively for work, leaving the child in the care of an elderly woman. The grandmother has made disparaging remarks about the Winston family in the child's presence, creating parental alienation. I'd like to hear from the grandmother. Judge Corleone looked at Dorothy. Mrs. Stratton, please approach. Dorothy stood, spine straight, and took the witness chair with more dignity than some queens managed at coronations. Mrs. Stratton, do you have cognitive issues? Memory problems? Any condition that would impair your ability to care for a child? No, Your Honor. I'm in excellent health. I run 3 miles 4 times a week, volunteer at the library, and have cared for my granddaughter since birth without incident. Why were you at the Winston home on the evening in question? My daughter was traveling for work. She's the VP of Marketing at Brennan Corporation, a position she's held for 3 years. I watch Emma 2 to 3 afternoons a week when school ends early. It's an arrangement we've had since Emma started kindergarten. And Jackson, Mr. Winston, was aware of this arrangement? Yes, Your Honor. He worked from home most days. He was present during many of the afternoons I cared for Emma. Judge Corleone turned to Jackson. Mr. Winston, if you were home during these afternoons, Why does your motion claim the child was abandoned to the grandmother's exclusive care? Jackson's face flushed. I was working. At home. Where your daughter was also present. The judge's tone could have frozen water. That's not absence, Mr. Winston. That's a parent working while ensuring the child is safely supervised. Carmichael tried to redirect. Your Honor, the Instagram documentation shows Mr. Winston's increased involvement in recent weeks. Recent weeks, the judge interrupted. Not months. Not years.
Weeks.
Coincidentally timed with. She flipped through papers. His consultation with your firm about custody options. This meeting occurred on November 3rd, correct? Claire's head snapped up. November 3rd, 6 weeks ago. Before Thanksgiving. Before any of this had exploded. Jackson had been planning this for 6 weeks. Your Honor, Michelle stood. May I present additional evidence? She handed the bailiff a folder. Inside were bank statements, credit card records, timestamps. These show that on multiple dates where Mr. Winston's Instagram claims he was with Emma, making pancakes, reading bedtime stories, attending school events, his credit card was used at locations miles away.
Bars. Golf course.
His gentleman's club. Judge Corleone examined the documents. Her expression was no longer unreadable. It was furious. Mr. Winston, on November 12th, your Instagram shows you reading bedtime stories to your daughter at 8 p.m. But your credit card was used at Murphy's Tavern at 8:17 p.m. Explain. Jackson opened his mouth.
Closed it.
The photos may have been from earlier. They're time-stamped and geotagged. Michelle's voice was surgical. Multiple photos show Mr. Winston engaged in parenting activities at times when he was provably elsewhere. This entire social media presence is fabricated. The courtroom went silent. Carmichael was frantically whispering to Jackson. Diane Winston's face had gone white. Patricia had her phone out again, probably texting reinforcements. Judge Corleone removed her glasses and pinned Jackson with a look that could peel paint. Mr. Winston, did you stage photographs to create false documentation of parenting involvement? Some of the photos may have been taken at different times. Yes or no?
The pause was damning.
Some were recreations of actual moments to document. Lies. Judge Corleone's voice cracked like a whip. You created false evidence to present to this court. Do you understand the severity of that? Carmichael stood quickly. Your Honor, perhaps a miscommunication about social media posting practices. Counselor, your client just admitted to fabricating evidence in a custody case. This hearing is over. She turned to Claire. Mrs. Winston, emergency custody is denied. You will retain full physical custody of your daughter pending a full hearing. Mr. Winston, you will have supervised visitation only 2 hours per week until we can determine the full extent of your creativity. Jackson surged to his feet. Your Honor, you can't. I can and I am. Furthermore, I'm ordering an investigation into the events of December 14th. If your mother endangered that child, there will be consequences beyond this courtroom. Judge Corleone's gavel came down like thunder. We're adjourned. Mr. Carmichael, control your client. Claire couldn't breathe, couldn't process. She'd won. She'd actually won. But then she saw Diane Winston's face. The older woman wasn't defeated. She was calculating. As they filed out of the courtroom, Diane leaned close to Michelle, her voice a whisper that still carried. You think this is over? We have resources you can't imagine. Private investigators. Leverage. Everyone has secrets, Miss Chun. Everyone. And we're going to find Claire's. Michelle didn't flinch. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Outside the courthouse, Jackson caught Claire's arm. His grip was tight enough to bruise. You humiliated me. My family. This isn't over, Claire. You have no idea what you've started. She pulled free, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. You locked our daughter outside to freeze. Whatever comes next, you started it. As she walked to Michelle's car, Claire's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo attachment. Her finger hesitated over the message. Every instinct screamed not to open it. She opened it. The photo was of her. From 8 years ago. Before Emma. Before Jackson. At a party she'd nearly forgotten. A party that, if the wrong people found out about, could destroy everything she'd just fought to protect. The text below was simple. We found your secret. Drop the custody fight or everyone learns the truth. What is Claire's secret? Drop your wildest theories in the comments and subscribe. Claire's hands shook so badly, she nearly dropped the phone. Michelle was already driving, navigating post-courthouse traffic, completely unaware that Claire's world had just imploded again. The photo was from her junior year of college. She was 21, drunk at a fraternity party, laughing with her arm around someone.
A man.
The image was grainy, but clear enough. Clear enough to destroy her. Because the man was Professor David Chen, Michelle's older brother, who'd been 32 at the time and Claire's academic advisor. Nothing had happened. They'd talked at a party, taken one photo, and that was it. But the optics, a student and her married professor, both clearly intoxicated, looking far too comfortable with each other, were toxic. Claire? You okay? Michelle glanced over. You're pale. Can you pull over? Michelle swung into a gas station parking lot. What happened? Claire showed her the phone with trembling hands. Michelle's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, recognition, understanding, and finally, fury. My brother? They're threatening you with my brother? Nothing happened between you two. David talked to you for 20 minutes about switching majors and some drunk idiot took a photo. I know that. You know that. But look at this photo, Michelle. Really look at it. Michelle looked. Her expression darkened. Okay, I see what they'll do with this. Inappropriate relationship with a professor. Questions about Emma's paternity. Emma is Jackson's daughter. DNA test confirmed it when she was born because Jackson wanted to be sure. Claire's laugh was bitter. Ironic, right? He was paranoid enough to test her then, but now he's father of the year. They don't need truth. They need doubt. Michelle's lawyer brain was already working. They'll leak this to social media. Imply you had multiple affairs, questionable judgment, moral deficiency. Suddenly, the career woman narrative becomes the immoral woman narrative. Claire's phone buzzed again. You have 24 hours to withdraw all motions and agree to Jackson's custody terms. Or this photo goes everywhere. Your employer, your daughter's school, every parent in Emma's class. Choose wisely. This is extortion, Michelle said flatly. Illegal. We can what? Prove it was them? By the time we do, the damage is done. Richard already put me on leave because of their fake allegations. This photo shows up, I'm finished. They'll fire me to avoid the scandal. David will testify nothing happened. A married professor admitting he was drunk at a party with a student he was advising? That ends his career too. I won't do that to him. Not for a photo that makes me look exactly like what the Winstons are claiming I am. Michelle was quiet for a long moment. What do you want to do? Claire looked at the courthouse in the rearview mirror. At the building where she'd just won a battle, but was losing the war. I don't know. By the time they got home, Dorothy had made dinner. Chicken soup because Dorothy believed soup could fix anything. Emma was coloring at the kitchen table, her tongue poking out in concentration as she carefully stayed inside the lines.
Nah.
Emma launched herself at Claire. Grandma said you won. Does that mean I don't have to go live with Daddy and Grandma Diane? Claire held her daughter so tightly Emma squirmed. You're staying with me, baby. Right here. But for how long? If she didn't comply with the blackmail, if that photo went public, would the judge reconsider? Would Jackson's lawyers use it to prove she was unfit? Would Emma end up in Winston custody after all? Dorothy pulled Claire aside while Emma went back to her coloring. What's wrong? You won today. Why do you look like you lost? Claire showed her the photo. Watched her mother's face cycle through the same emotions Michelle's had. This is nothing. You were a kid at a party. It's enough. Mom, you don't understand how these things work. Perception is reality. The Winstons will make this look like I had an affair with my married professor, that I'm morally corrupt, that Emma's been exposed to my lifestyle. It doesn't matter that it's a lie. So, we tell the truth. Truth doesn't trend on social media, Mom. Scandal does. Claire sank into a chair. They have me. If I fight, they destroy my reputation and maybe still get Emma. If I surrender, I lose her but keep my job, my dignity, maybe get visitation rights. You're actually considering giving up? Dorothy's voice was sharp. After everything we've been through? After what they did to Emma? I'm considering protecting her from something worse. If this goes public, she'll be the daughter of the immoral woman who slept with her professor. Kids will hear their parents talking. She'll be bullied, isolated. She'll learn that her mother fought for her. Dorothy grabbed Claire's shoulders. You think surrendering protects her? It teaches her that powerful people always win. That women should give up when threatened. Is that the lesson you want to teach your daughter? Emma looked up from her coloring. Mama, why are you crying? Claire hadn't realized she was. She wiped her eyes quickly. Just happy tears, baby. Because I love you so much. I love you too. Emma returned to her drawing, completely unaware that her entire future hung in the balance. Claire's phone buzzed. A new message. 20 hours remaining. We're not bluffing. Ask yourself what matters more, your pride or your daughter's well-being. They're in my head, Claire whispered. They know exactly how to manipulate this. If I fight, I'm selfish and putting my pride above Emma's needs. If I surrender, I'm weak and proving I don't deserve custody. There's no winning move. Michelle had been quiet, typing on her laptop. Now she looked up, her expression strange. Claire, who else knew about that party? Who was there? I don't know. It was 8 years ago. Random college kids, some professors, it was the department mixer. Why? Because someone saved this photo for 8 years. Someone kept it, filed it away, waiting for the perfect moment to use it. Michelle turned her laptop around. And I think I know who. The screen showed a Facebook profile. Bethany Morrison. A name Claire vaguely recognized. Who is she? According to her profile, she went to your college. Same year, same major. And according to her recent posts, Michelle clicked through. She works for the Winston family. Has for 6 years. She's Diane's personal assistant. The room went silent. She was at that party, Claire said slowly, memory surfacing. Bethany Morrison. She had a crush on Professor Chin. Got angry when he spent time talking to me instead of her. And she's been working for your mother-in-law for 6 years. Michelle's smile was razor sharp. Which means Diane has been collecting ammunition on you for 6 years. This wasn't spontaneous, Claire. This was premeditated. That doesn't help us. She still has the photo. But it proves conspiracy. Long-term harassment. Calculated targeting. Michelle was already typing. If we can prove Diane planted an informant in your life, that she's been orchestrating this for years, that changes everything. Dorothy leaned over the laptop. Look at her posts. She was at Emma's 4th birthday party. And her 3rd. Claire, this woman has been in your home. Claire's stomach turned. Jackson said she was a friend from his office. I never questioned it. Because you trusted your husband. Michelle pulled up more photos. She's in dozens of photos. Always in the background. Always watching. Claire, she's been spying on you for years. We can prove this to the judge. Not in time. The hearing's not for 3 weeks. But this photo goes public in 20 hours. Michelle drummed her fingers on the table, thinking. We need leverage. Something they want more than they want to destroy you. They want Emma. That's all they've ever wanted.
No.
Michelle's eyes narrowed. They want control. Over Jackson. Over Emma. Over you. The Winston family is built on image, legacy, power. So what would hurt them more than anything? Claire understood slowly. Exposure. Public exposure of what they really are. You have police reports documenting child endangerment. You have evidence of fabricated social media posts. You have proof of a 6-year conspiracy to destroy you. Michelle leaned forward. What if we don't wait for them to leak your photo? What if we go public first? Your story. The real one. That's insane. We'd be starting a war. They already started the war. They locked Emma outside. They blackmailed you. They planted a spy in your life for 6 years. Michelle's voice rose. The only question is whether you fight back or let them win. Dorothy touched Claire's hand. What does your gut say, Claire Bear? Claire looked at Emma, still coloring peacefully. Looked at her mother, who'd sacrificed everything to raise her strong. Looked at Michelle, ready to burn the world down for her. And thought about the woman she wanted Emma to become. Not the woman who surrendered when threatened. Not the woman who let powerful people win just because they were powerful. The woman who fought. We fight, Claire said. But we do it smart. We don't just defend. We expose everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every crime the Winstons have committed. Michelle's smile was fierce. Now you're talking. But Claire, if we do this, there's no going back. We're going scorched earth. Good. Claire's voice was steel. Let it burn. Claire just declared war on the Winstons. Are you ready for what comes next? Comment fight if you're with her, and subscribe. Michelle worked through the night, building their case like an architect designing a fortress. By 3 a.m., the dining room table was covered in documents, timelines, evidence carefully cross-referenced and verified. We go public at 8 a.m., Michelle said, her eyes red from caffeine and fury. Before they can leak your photo, we control the narrative. Claire hadn't slept. She'd spent the hours writing, rewriting, perfecting her statement. The truth, unvarnished and raw. At 7:42 a.m., her phone buzzed. The Winstons, right on schedule. Final warning. Withdraw by 8 a.m., or the photo goes everywhere. Claire's finger hovered over the screen. Then she opened her own social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of them, and posted simultaneously. The post was simple. A photo of Emma's frost-nipped fingers from that night. The police report. And Claire's statement. My name is Claire Stratton Winston. On December 14th, my husband's family locked my 5-year-old daughter outside in 18-degree weather for 90 minutes while they occupied my home. This is the police report. These are her injuries. This is what happens when wealth and entitlement believe they're above consequences. For 6 years, I've been watched, monitored, and undermined by a family that viewed me as an obstacle to controlling their son and granddaughter. They planted a spy in my life. They fabricated evidence. And now they're blackmailing me to surrender custody of my child. I'm done being silent. I'm done protecting people who endangered my daughter. This is my truth. She hit post and watched her phone explode. Within minutes, shares multiplied. Comments flooded in. Local news outlets picked it up. By 7:58 a.m., #JusticeForEmma was trending. At exactly 8 a.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. Claire answered on speaker, Michelle recording every word. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Diane Winston's voice was pure venom. I will destroy you. I will take everything. You already tried, Claire said calmly. And now thousands of people know what you did. How's that photo looking now, Diane? Think anyone will care about a college party when they're reading about you locking a kindergartner outside to freeze? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Actually, I do. You're a bully who's never been challenged. Someone who's used money and intimidation to control everyone around you. But here's what you didn't count on. I have nothing left to lose. You already tried to take my daughter, my job, my reputation. There's nothing left to threaten me with. Silence on the other end. Then, Jackson will never forgive you for this. Jackson participated in this. He chose you over his daughter the moment he ignored 17 phone calls while she froze outside. Claire's voice didn't waver. Whatever we had is over. The only thing I care about now is protecting Emma from all of you. She hung up. Michelle was grinning like a wolf. Check your phone. The post had gone viral. 10,000 shares. 20,000. News fans were already requesting interviews. Other mothers were commenting with their own stories of custody manipulation, of wealthy families wielding the system as a weapon. Claire's work phone rang. Richard. Claire, I don't know what to say. HR just saw your post. We had no idea the allegations against you were part of he paused. We're suspending the investigation immediately. And between you and me, our legal team is very interested in how the Winston family orchestrated a harassment campaign against one of our executives. One small victory. But Claire wasn't celebrating yet. At 9:30 a.m., her phone rang again. This time, a number she recognized. Jackson. Claire, please. Take it down. My mother is having a breakdown. The family reputation. Your mother locked out our daughter. I know. And I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. His voice cracked. I was weak. I let her manipulate me. She's been in my head since we got married, telling me you were trying to replace the family, that you were controlling me. So, you let her abuse our child? I wasn't thinking. I just wanted the fighting to stop. Mom said if we had custody, everything would be peaceful. Emma would be raised right. He stopped. I heard myself. I sound like her. You've always sounded like her, Jackson. That's the problem. What if I testify? Against my mother? About the planning, the manipulation? What if I help you prove everything? His voice turned desperate. I want to fix this. I want Emma safe. I want to be the father I should have been. Claire closed her eyes. Part of her wanted to believe him. The part that had loved him once, that had built a life with him. But she'd learned the hard way. Words were cheap. Actions mattered. You want to fix this?
Here's how.
You file a statement with the police about your mother's actions. You withdraw the custody motion. You enter therapy, real therapy, not whatever your family approves of. And you accept supervised visitation until you prove you've changed. Supervised visitation? Claire, I'm her father. Who let his mother endanger her? Who fabricated evidence? Who chose his family's approval over his daughter's safety? Claire's voice was firm. You want back in Emma's life? You earn it. Starting now. Silence. Long enough that Claire thought he'd hung up. Then, okay, I'll do it. All of it. I'll tell the truth about Mom. About all of it. I'm recording this conversation, Jackson. As is my lawyer. You're on the record. I know. I meant what I said. I want to be better. For Emma. Even if it's too late for us. After he hung up, Michelle looked at Claire with something like pride. You know he might be playing you. Trying to look cooperative while his family regroups. I know. But if he's serious, if he actually testifies against Diane, we won't just win custody. We'll ensure the Winstons can never threaten Emma again. Dorothy came downstairs with Emma, who was ready for school. The little girl was oblivious to the war being waged around her, focused on her light-up sneakers and whether she could bring Mr. Hopscotch for show and tell. Mama, are you still sad? Emma asked. Claire knelt down, looking into her daughter's eyes.
No, baby.
I'm not sad anymore. I'm fighting. For you. Always for you. Like a superhero? Exactly like a superhero. As Emma skipped to the car with Dorothy, Michelle showed Claire her phone one more time. The Winston family attorney had withdrawn Jackson's emergency custody motion. Officially cited, new evidence requiring review. Translation: They were retreating. We won, Michelle said quietly. The battle, at least. Claire watched Emma through the window, saw her daughter's carefree smile, her innocence still intact. The war's not over yet. But for the first time, I think we might actually survive it. They're retreating, but is it real or a trap? Comment your thoughts and stay subscribed. The final hearing came 3 weeks later. In that time, everything had changed. Jackson had testified. Really testified. The police had opened a criminal investigation into Diane Winston for child endangerment. Bethany Morrison, the planted spy, had been fired and was cooperating with authorities in exchange for immunity. The Winston family's perfect facade had cracked wide open. But Diane wasn't done. Not yet. She sat in the courtroom gallery like a queen in exile, her expression carved from ice. Theodore Carmichael had been replaced, conflict of interest, given Jackson's testimony against his own mother. The new lawyer was younger, hungrier, and just as dangerous. Judge Corleone entered, and the room fell silent. We're here to settle custody arrangements for Emma Winston, she began. I've reviewed the evidence, the testimonies, and the developments since our last hearing. Mr. Winston, please stand. Jackson stood, looking smaller somehow, broken down, and rebuilt into something different. He'd been in therapy 3 times a week, had moved out of his mother's house into his own apartment, had shown up for every supervised visitation, never late, never distracted. Your testimony against your mother took courage, Judge Corleone said. It also revealed a pattern of manipulation and abuse extending back years. How do I trust you won't fall back into those patterns? You don't, Your Honor. Not yet. Jackson's voice was steady. I have to earn that trust. From you, from Claire, from Emma. I'm not asking for primary custody. I'm asking for a chance to be the father Emma deserves. Judge Corleone turned to Claire. Mrs. Winston, what do you want? Claire stood, her heart pounding. She'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. I want my daughter safe. I want her to know her father, if he's truly changed. But I want legal protections. A clause preventing Diane Winston from unsupervised contact, mandatory therapy, and primary physical custody remaining with me. Your Honor, Diane's new lawyer stood. Mrs. Diane Winston wishes to address the court. Absolutely not, Judge Corleone said sharply. Mrs. Winston is under criminal investigation. She has no standing in this proceeding. I'm her grandmother. I have rights. You locked her outside in freezing temperatures. The judge's voice cracked like thunder. You orchestrated a 6-year campaign of harassment against her mother. You'll be fortunate if your only consequence is losing access to this child. Diane's face went purple with rage. That child is a Winston. She belongs with. Bailiff. Judge Corleone pointed. Remove Mrs. Winston from my courtroom. Now. As Diane was escorted out, she locked eyes with Claire one last time. The hatred there was pure and bottomless. But Claire didn't look away. Didn't flinch. She'd faced the worst Diane Winston could throw at her. And she was still standing. Judge Corleone shuffled her papers. Here's my ruling. Primary physical custody remains with Claire Stratton Winston. Jackson Winston will have supervised visitation twice weekly for 6 months, transitioning to unsupervised if therapy reports are positive. Diane Winston is prohibited from contact with a minor child pending resolution of criminal charges. Claire's knees nearly buckled with relief. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm ordering the Winston family to pay all legal fees incurred by Mrs. Stratton Winston. This case was a misuse of the court system and a waste of resources. You're dismissed. The gavel came down like divine judgment. Outside the courthouse, Jackson approached Claire carefully, like she might bolt. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving me a chance. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, Claire agreed. But Emma deserves a father who's trying. Don't make me regret this. I won't. I promise.
He paused.
My mother will appeal. She'll fight this until. Let her fight. I'm not afraid anymore. Claire looked him in the eye. And Jackson? If you ever choose her over Emma again, you won't get another chance. Understood. As he walked away, Michelle appeared with champagne. We won. Actually, completely, totally won. We did. Claire watched Emma playing on the courthouse lawn with Dorothy, completely carefree. We really did. For the first time in weeks, Claire felt something unfamiliar.
Hope.
Victory. But is it really over? Drop a comment if you're crying happy tears right now. 6 months later, spring had transformed everything. Claire sat on her porch, in the home that was legally, undeniably hers after the divorce settlement, watching Emma chase butterflies in the backyard. Dorothy was planting tomatoes in the garden, humming off-key, gloriously alive and present. The criminal charges against Diane Winston had resulted in a plea deal, probation, mandatory anger management, and a permanent restraining order keeping her away from Emma. The Winston family's reputation had taken hits they'd never fully recover from. Patricia had moved to California. Constance wouldn't make eye contact at the grocery store. And Jackson. Jackson was different. He arrived exactly on time for his visitation, no longer supervised after 4 months of consistent therapy and stable behavior. Emma ran to him with genuine excitement, and Claire saw something she'd never thought possible, real remorse in his eyes when he looked at her.
Hey, Eminencia.
Ready for the park. He knelt to Emma's level, letting her show him a caterpillar she'd found. Daddy, look. Grandma Dorothy says he's gonna be a butterfly. That's amazing, sweetheart. He looked up at Claire. I'll have her back by 5. Pizza, okay, for dinner? Pizza's perfect. As he buckled Emma into his car, a modest sedan, not the luxury SUV his mother had always insisted on, he paused. Claire? I heard about your promotion. VP of Operations. That's incredible. Thank you. She'd been terrified the scandal would derail her career, but instead, Brennan Corporation had rallied around her. The CEO himself had called to apologize for the investigation and offered her the promotion personally. You're an amazing mother. And an amazing person. Jackson's voice cracked slightly. I'm sorry I couldn't see that when it mattered. You see it now. That's what counts for Emma. After they left, Michelle pulled up with coffee and news. She'd been made partner at her firm, largely on the strength of Claire's high-profile case. There's something you should know, Michelle said, settling into the porch chair. Diane tried to file for grandparent visitation rights. Claire's stomach clenched, and Judge Corleone denied it. Said given the criminal history and documented endangerment, Diane Winston poses a threat to the child's welfare. It's over, Claire. Really over. The tension Claire had been carrying for 7 months finally released. She actually laughed, the sound surprised and free. It's really over. It really is. You won. Emma's safe. You're thriving. The bad guys lost. Michelle raised her coffee cup. To the strongest woman I know. They clinked cups as Dorothy joined them, dirt under her fingernails and satisfaction in her smile. That garden's going to feed us all summer, Dorothy announced. Emma wants to learn to can tomatoes. Can you imagine? 5 years old, and already thinking ahead. She gets that from her mother, Michelle said pointedly. And her grandmother. Claire watched the butterflies dance over Dorothy's garden, thought about Emma's laughter, about Jackson's genuine efforts to be better, about the life she'd fought so hard to protect. She'd lost the fairy tale, the perfect marriage, the illusion of the perfect family. But she'd gained something infinitely more valuable. Her freedom, her strength, her daughter's safety, and the absolute certainty that she could face anything and survive. When Emma returned that evening, chattering about the swings and the ice cream Daddy bought her, Claire held her close and breathed in the scent of sunshine and strawberry shampoo. Mama, why are you squeezing so tight? Because I love you more than anything in the whole world. I love you too, Mama. More than butterflies and ice cream and everything. In the golden light of a spring evening, surrounded by the people who'd stood by her, Claire finally understood. She hadn't just survived the storm. She'd learned to dance in the rain. And she'd taught her daughter to do the same. What a journey! If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. I read every single one. More incredible stories coming soon. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and you deserve to fight for what matters. See you in the next story.